Hedyn wyf o wlad bell, wedi ei lyncu gan dderyn treigl, wedi ei gludo dros y môr gan wennol, disgynodd ar dir newydd ei aredig a thaflu gwreiddiau. Glaswelltyn wyf ar borfa las, wedi fy mlygu dan garn defaid, wedi fy nghnhoi gan ddant bystach. Tyfais yn gnawd byw, tyfais yn rhan o Gymru.
It's Jin a Jang. Jang yw merch a Jin... Na, yw Jin, ia. Beth yw hwnna?
Mae yna stori ddigon anodd i mam, wrth gwrs. Roedd hi'n ferch i ddewes, ond oedd y teulu i gyd wedi newid at Gristnogaeth, dechrau'r 20th ganrif. Ond hynny, gollodd mam i gwaith mewn amgueddfa Eiffdaidd yn Berlin. Methu wedyn cael gwaith yn yr Almaen oherwydd rheoler na tued, a chwilio ble gallai hi fynd. Ar ôl dod i'r Rhondda, fe ddysgodd mam Gymraeg, a dod yn rhan o gylch o lenorion Cymraeg, teulu Cymraeg, symud i'r Bala am ychydig, a wedyn dod yn ôl yma i Abertawe, a byw yn Abertawe o 1947 ymlaen.
I'm come from Syria, from Homs, with my family. I have 3 children, and I come with my dad and my mom and my husband. We lived here from 5 years ago. Everything is before, everything is beautiful and very warm. I remember when I was very young, so beautiful, for warm, because every time neighbors look after each other. If you have any problem, all close. If you have something happen for party, always with us. We started when you started the war. 2011, I leave my country. Very difficult time for me. To Egypt, with my dad and mom and 2 sisters, and my husband, and I have 1 daughter in Syria, 2 years. I left to Egypt just about 2 months and back after something, maybe everything's back again. But still in the Egypt 3 years and a half, and after that coming here.
I was born on the 7th of the 7th, 1933, in Prague. I came out and arrived in this country on the 1st of July 1939. There was only one parent allowed to come on the platform, and one of my mother's best friends was our doctor, and she was putting her daughter on. Tanya was about 11 years older than me, so I had chicken pox and a temperature of 104, and my mother really didn't want to put me on the train, and the doctor said, well, if you don't put her on the train, she won't go, which is quite ironic because the next train of St. Nicholas's, they were actually on the train and it was stopped. So I did go on the train. I know I was very seasick, and I know I was lying down most of the journey, so I don't know where they put me. When I got to Liverpool Street Station, my foster father, he was there waiting for me, and he was a Baptist minister. He had a black hat, black suit, black coat, and of course a minister's collar, and they just took me up to him. I caught hold of his hand and I went with him. I can't imagine how a child nowadays would go, but he just smiled at me and off we went.
I was in year 6 when we had Gulf War in around 1990, so we had to run from Kuwait. It was a very difficult experience for my parents, but my mum was clever enough to tell us a story that there's an adventure going on and there are fireworks going on out of our house, because we could see the shellings and everything and we couldn't understand what it was. But just to keep us calm and happy and safe, she would say or make up things like, okay, we're going on an adventure. If you pass this level, I'll give you a candy or a cookie. And we were loving it. We were playing these games. We had our cards and we would take questions that she had made for us. Yeah, and it was really nice for me to see. We were going from bus, we see soldiers, And we were like, and my mom was like, oh, count how many soldiers you see on the way. And we were like, who saw the most soldiers? And it was terrifying for my parents, but for me, it was a game.
My dad was born in Berlin in 1922. He had a younger sister, Illa, in about 1936 or 1937 maybe. The family all came to the UK. Because they were moneyed, they probably didn't have any problems about visas. But the upshot of it was that my dad, at the age of 17, and Illa, who was then aged 16, were both interned as enemy aliens. My mother was born in Budapest, and they lived very bourgeois lifestyle, property, servants. They had the good life until things came crashing down. My mother's family endured the entire war in Budapest. They hid. I think it was incredibly traumatic for her. She was apparently raped by a Russian soldier. She told me the story once. It sounded absolutely awful. And in 1948, her parents used what little resources they had left to buy one set of papers on the black market to send her out of Budapest. Between 1945 and 1948, the Soviets were slowly tightening their grip on Eastern Europe, and they must have seen it as a last-ditch attempt to get her a better life, maybe to save her from being raped again, who knows.
Yn ystod yr rhyfel, doedd hi ddim yn clywed o gwbl beth oedd yn digwydd i'w theulu hi. Dim syniad pwy oedd yn fyw, pwy oedd yn farw, ambell i neges yn dod trwy'r croes goch, yr rhai yn gamarweiniol. Dwi'n credu bod hi wedi gorfod cau y drws rhywsut ar y profiadau yn yr Almaen, a ddylai boeni trwy'r adeg beth oedd yn digwydd i'w theulu neu trio gafel mewn bywyd unwaith eto. A dyna nath hi, gafel mewn bywyd unwaith eto yng Nghymru, a chyfle arbennig yng Nghymru achos i bod hi yn rhan o gylch o ffrindiau ac wedi dechrau ysgrifennu'n Gymraeg, dysgu'r iaith, ysgrifennu'n Gymraeg. Ond trwy'r adeg yna, i bod hi wedi dod o hyd i fywyd newydd yng Nghymru, roedd gyda hi yr ardaeth parhaus o feddwl beth oedd yn digwydd i'w theulu. Ac yn y pen draw cael gwybod wrth gwrs bod ei mam wedi cael ei lladd yng Ngwersyll Ravensbrück ac bod y teulu mewn gwirionedd wedi chwalu, sawl un arall wedi marw hefyd. A wedyn wedi gorfod byw ar ddeuoliaeth yna. Ond o'r hyn mae wedi ysgrifennu cerddi yn arbennig, i chi'n gweld bod hi trwy'r amser yn ymwybodol bod gyda hi ddwy bersonoliaeth falle, dwy set o reiddiau, a bod hi wedi gorfod cael ei thrawsblannu na dyna oedd ei bwriad un y lle cyntaf.
When I come to here, they told me only coming to UK, not where you're going. And when you're coming to here, very difficult for me because I don't know where are you going and don't have any language. I'm reading English and writing in the school because I'm learning, but I don't understand the words. Just alphabet, just a little for animals, for words, small, not to everything. Very scary, and I am also very difficult time for me because I left my two sisters in Egypt, and first time this, and I come to here. Yeah, everything when I come here change for me. I didn't understand everything and cold because I'm coming from Egypt, very hot. I feeling, I remember this time very difficult and very hard, and my children as well because left they auntie. Yeah, and after 6 months, little bit maybe me because I little bit start to understand the people and making a lot of friends. We are now good, but difficult for us because we have families, children, and we go to college as well. We moms, yeah, everything. Moms, students, and look after children, everything, and wife.
The first year I went to the senior school, you had to do Welsh. Then the first year after Welsh, they put me in the German class. Do you know I was bottom? And many years after that, Pat and I were talking, And she said, you know, I'm certain that was psychological. I wanted to obliterate my past. And we had a couple of letters. The last communication I had from her, which I've got in my file, was from a concentration camp via the Red Cross for my birthday in 1942. Never had any communication at all from my father, but he died with my Uncle Felix, and I only found out last October. My mother's death certificate said Treblinka. My mother and grandmother were on the way to Treblinka. The train broke down. Instead of waiting for it to be repaired, they were all shot and then taken. But Treblinka was not actually a concentration camp. It was just gas chambers. My great aunt, she died in Lodz. And of course that's the only 5 people that I ever knew.
Because people treated us differently. It was like they were sympathizing for us. I know they were being kind or they were being thoughtful, but to me it just looked odd because I didn't understand why they were sympathizing with us, and I didn't like that look on their faces. And I was like, why can't they just treat us as normal family or normal kids? When I had Syrian refugees here, I tried not to do that, and I would talk to them as a normal person, meeting a normal Muslim person, meeting another Muslim person, and I would invite them to my house. I would arrange gatherings just for them to see and feel that they are welcome, and there are more people like them here. Whatever I experienced as a child, I used it.
As refugees, they clung to each other. They needed that memory of what they had in Germany. So every Saturday and Sunday we'd have lots of people around the house. It was a very, very big part of our life. So at school I definitely felt out on a limb. You know, you couldn't put your finger on it, but I knew I was different. And even before I knew I was Jewish, when I was little, I didn't feel as though I was like the others. It took me a really long time to get over that. And I think I was also always quite reluctant to invite other children home because I thought my mother had put some funny foreign food on the table, and we lived in quite a xenophobic age. And that, you know, on one occasion, it was only once, but a boy accused me of being a Nazi on the basis that my father was German. I was 10. And I just remember just going, you don't understand. And it's difficult to sort of depict the sort of environment we lived in then. But on Saturdays, we weren't observant. We used to go shopping in the morning and then have lunch and settle down in front of the TV to watch some old black and white movies. And, you know, half those movies were POW films or, you know, war films where it was always the great British Tommies against the evil Nazis. But it was never spelt out why those Nazis were evil. And the Holocaust or the anti-Semitism never came into those films. So I'm not surprised that my peer group at school had no idea, whereas my parents, they didn't speak about what they'd been through or what they'd... There's so many question marks in my mind still about how they actually experienced what they did experience.
When I first went there were over 30 coal mines in that valley, and you know, people were getting killed down the mines. They weren't really into if you were coloured or not. They just got on with their own lives. Back about 20 years ago, we started having school reunions in Porthcawl. And on the table, I don't remember any of the boys in school. We tried to get far away as possible from them. And on the table was this gentleman. He said, you know, you saved me having a beating one day. I said, what do you mean? One of the boys, who was twice his size, had him on the floor beating the daylights out of him. And I just came along and caught hold of whether it was his jumper or what it is, pulled him up and walked off. I think I must have didn't want to see anybody being ill-treated.
Oedd mam yn amlwg oherwydd y profiadau yn yr Almaen wedi mynd i deimlo yn erbyn awdurdodau gormesol. Oedd hwnna'n bwysig iawn iddi. Ac yng Nghymru roedd hi'n gweld bod yr iaith Gymraeg o dan ormes, heb hawliau. Felly roedd hi'n frwd iawn dros y Gymraeg i berthyn i Gymru, a wedyn cymryd rhan mewn ymgyrchoedd ac iddi hi oedd hi'n gweld yn sicr yn gweld y Gymraeg a Chymru a phosibiliadau i roi ateb i fyd heddychol newydd.
إنه أنا بالنسبة لي إنه أنصح الناس يلي إنه بدها تيجي على ويلز إنه يعني دائما تشتغل على حالها وتتعب حتى لو كانت اللغة صعبة أو الحياة أول شيء رح تكون صعبة بس بعد شوي يعني بعدين بتصير إيزي وسهلة. ولازم دائما الإنسان يفكر بالمستقبل وينسى الماضي ويطلع إنه يعمل شيء لأطفاله لعائلته المستقبلية ودائما يطمح للأفضل.